I came here to break down this wall of loss. Even though I served in the military, there are a few things I thought the same about before and after enlisting, and the most representative one is that the Korean military is really obsessed with firepower. They're crazy about firepower. Although I worked in a communications company, I saw many self-propelled guns and mortars, but I didn't use them. Today, the Republic of Korea Armed Forces boasts firepower that is among the best not only in Asia, but also in the world. This firepower demonstrates not only defense, but also offensive readiness. Today, let's examine this impressive firepower. Before we begin, I want to mention that while I was serving in the military, I lost 30,000 subscribers. If you could please hit the subscribe button, it would be a huge support for me. I sincerely ask for your help. Let's see how obsessed our country is with firepower. Since artillery is a key example, let's start by calculating it. Korea is estimated to have 3,189 self-propelled guns, with only 3 countries having more. Russia has 6,208, North Korea 4,500, and China 3,850 self-propelled guns. No other country has more than Korea. Among major powers, only the United States, China, and Russia have over 1,000 self-propelled guns, while countries like France, Germany, and India have around 100. This really shows how obsessed our country is with firepower. Especially when compared to the self-propelled guns of Russia and tough China, Korea's self-propelled guns are considered to be of much higher quality. I'd like to start by explaining the K9 self-propelled gun. The K9 self-propelled gun is considered one of the world's best, even seen as superior to the American M100 9A6 Paladin. Also, when compared to the German PZH 2000 self-propelled gun, which currently boasts the best performance in the world, the K9 is considered to be slightly inferior in terms of performance. The main point is its price is very low, about half the cost. In war, a weapon that's cheaper and easier to mass produce is seen as better, even if its performance is slightly lower. They rapidly produced K9 self-propelled howitzers and now have about 1,090 in operation. Also, the K55A1 self-propelled howitzer is at a level that can't be ignored. It's known that the minimum cost to newly produce one K9 self-propelled howitzer is about 4 billion won. The K55A1 self-propelled howitzer costs about 1.9 billion, roughly half the price of the K9. Although it's rated at 70% to 90% of the K9's performance, the K55A1 self-propelled howitzer shouldn't be overlooked. Korea has 1,180 K55A1 self-propelled howitzers and has done something even more extreme. Our country has a lot of howitzers, especially the 105mm howitzers, which are often called dongpo. There were just too many of them, and on top of that, there was so much surplus 105mm ammunition left over that it became a headache. You can't start a war just because you have a lot of 105mm shells, so they came up with the idea of mounting them on trucks and operating them like self-propelled howitzers. That's how the K105A1 self-propelled howitzer was created. With this self-propelled howitzer, the crew needed to operate the 105mm howitzer was reduced from 8 people to just 3, and the deployment time was shortened to under a minute. This made hit-and-run tactics possible with the 105mm. The war in Ukraine has made the K105A1 self-propelled howitzer even more important today. It shows that even outdated weapons can inflict significant damage if used in large numbers, not just quality that matters. The K105A1 self-propelled howitzer's value has risen due to its sustained combat power. With shell supply now a major concern, the military strategy of stockpiling 105mm shells proved highly effective, almost like winning the lottery. About 1,000 K105A1 self-propelled howitzers are in use, offering insight into the Ministry of National Defense's strategy. It really seems true that if something has a gun, put wheels on it, and if it has wheels, put a gun on it. Also, this is a country that owns a considerable number of howitzers. It is known that South Korea currently possesses 4,863 howitzers, but the only country that has more than this is Russia, with 8,356 howitzers. Possession includes 2,000 KM101A1 105 MEN or 1,400 M114 155 MEM and 1,000 KH179 155 MERS howitzers. Today, towed howitzers are being replaced by self-propelled guns, with the former reportedly moving to reserve use. But you know what's really crazy about the Ministry of National Defense? Since the number of reservists who know how to handle towed howitzers is gradually decreasing, they're thinking of loading these howitzers onto trucks or attaching wheels to turn them into wheeled self-propelled guns. Lately, the Korean military is fixated on firepower. The reason is, all of the artillery in the Republic of Korea Armed Forces uses 155mm large caliber guns, and even infantry brigades have reached the point where they're firing 105mm guns. A mortar project is underway, and the largest mortar used at the front now is the 4.2-inch caliber. This is 107 nm, but there's a project to replace them with 120 nm by Guyok self-propelled mortars. In the 120 mm class, hand-loading shells is tough because they're much larger. They're planning to switch to an automatic loading system. This change reduces the required personnel from 32, about 75% of the original crew, to 24. Its range is 2-3 times greater and firepower 1.9 times higher than the current 4.2-inch mortar. Currently, about 1,844.2-inch mortars and 2,160mm mortars are in use. Interestingly, there are about 2.5 million 4.2-inch mortar shells in stock. Using 9,000 to 10,000 rounds annually for training, that's a 282-year supply. That's incredible. Emeralds is also powerful. Korea has around 581 units. 10 countries have more Emeralds than Korea. Myanmar, 586. Pakistan, 602. Syria, 613. United States, 693. India, 702. Iran, 775. Egypt, 1,119. North Korea, 2,920. Russia, 3,065. And China, about 3,180. The Emerald held by Myanmar, Pakistan, North Korea, Iran, and Syria are much weaker than Korea's and should be considered separately. In the case of this multiple launch rocket system, due to the nature of the weapon, the unit price is quite expensive, but each multiple launch rocket system vehicle has enough firepower to instantly cover an area as large as several soccer fields. The range covers several dozen kilometers. We have 150 K-136 Guryong-58 M270 multiple launch rocket system and 218 K-239 Cheonmun rocket launchers. The number of tanks is also tremendous. Currently, Korea has 2,501 tanks, but there are only 8 countries in the world that have more tanks than Korea. Syria, 2,720 tanks. Pakistan, 3,742. India, 4,614. United States, 4,657. China, 5,000. Egypt, 5,340. North Korea, 5,845. Russia, 14,777. Korea operates 1,027, 484 K1A2, and 250 K2 Haeokpyo tanks. I'd like to discuss the K2 Haeokpyo tank. The tank is considered to have excellent sensors, firepower, and mobility, making it suitable for the cloud-heavy Korean peninsula. In addition, a lot of effort was put into electronic equipment such as the fire control system and the automatic loading system. The K2 Haeokpyo tank has a 120mm 55 caliber smoothbore gun and fires 15 rounds per minute. The K2 tank features an automatic loader like the French Leclerc, holding 16 spare shells with 24 more shells stored inside the hull. The fire control system automatically tracks and engages targets. It's an impressive machine. Korea also has strong missile capabilities. In 2021, when the missile range guidelines between Korea and the United States were finally abolished, Korea started to go all out in developing missiles. They're rolling out a huge number of new missiles, almost as if they had them ready in advance. They unveiled the Hyunmoo 5 with a 9-ton warhead and a 305,000-kilometer range. The exact specifications are classified, but it's rumored to be extremely powerful. It's reportedly strong enough to breach Kim Yo-won's bunker. They are also boosting missile capabilities by mass-producing strategic warhead missiles like Hyunmoo 2, Hyunmoo 3, and Hyunmoo 4. They have obtained long-range ballistic and cruise missile delivery systems. As for nuclear capabilities, South Korea is not pursuing nuclear armament because it would be more detrimental than beneficial to its interests, but it already possesses all the technology necessary for nuclear armament. The Navy tends to be obsessed with firepower. The Incheon-class frigate is notable for having 16 anti-ship missiles, while most destroyers typically carry only about 8. The Sejong the Great-class destroyer, Korea's destroyer, carries 16 anti-ship missiles, double the number on Western ships, giving it twice the missile firepower. The Air Force is also increasing its firepower in the same way. They brought in 200 KPD, 350 Taurus missiles, and announced plans to jointly develop an upgraded Taurus missile for all 6 military branches and deploy it nationwide. And all of their fighter jets are undergoing upgrades. They are upgrading FA-15K and KF-16 jets to strengthen their air force. They are now introducing the F-35 Lightning and KF-21 Boramai fighter jets. Korea's focus on firepower is driven by several factors, but the main one is the Korean peninsula's geography. 70% of the Korean peninsula is mountainous. In this kind of environment, the most cost-effective system that can deliver high firepower for a long time is artillery power. On top of that, because of the characteristics of these mountainous areas, roads are built along slopes, so vehicles tend to move in a single file line. Historically, there are few routes to attack Seoul. Military personnel would be aware of this. Moving through the mountains is very difficult, so attacking enemy forces on the roads is most effective with artillery. In mountainous terrain, it's better to use a defensive strategy that secures key positions and concentrates firepower than to engage in maneuver warfare. So, if you look at battles in Korean history, there are hardly any large-scale battles on open plains, and most of the battles were fought using defensive strategies. This is all because of the unique geographical features of the Korean peninsula. Since North Korea knows about this, they've developed advanced long-range artillery and rocket launchers. That's why about 20% of the world's artillery is concentrated on the Korean peninsula. If war starts, artillery shells will likely explode first. What are your thoughts on South Korea's firepower? Share in the comments. That's it for this video. Bye!